Running low on energy, long days and even longer nights, tired of all the other energy drinks and bars promise you a lot and never delivering? Need to make it through work, but want a product that can keep up with your busy lifestyle? Want no longer? Try Chef's Chocolate Salty Balls. The balls that are so smooth and with a load of nutrients and vitamins to really get you up and bouncing off the walls. Made with all natural ingredients and healthy junk to satisfy even the pickiest eater. Chef's Chocolate Salty Balls are sold everywhere where you buy your junk. And now for those who want that extra kick in the butt, comes Chef's Heavy Duty Chocolate Salty Balls with 120% more caffeine than the leading brand. Disclaimer, this product has not been approved by the FDA or World Health Association. Warning, this product is not intended for consumption by children, elderly people, or women who are pregnant or may become pregnant. You might even get pregnant.
In the sky, it's a bird, it's a plane. Flying high, I emerge through the flames. Have no fear, I'm here, so stand back. Melanin activate, the name is super black. In the sky, it's a bird, it's a plane. Flying high, I emerge through the flames. Have no fear, I'm here, so stand back. Melanin activate, the name is super black. Imagine that, a future that's super black. Long as your skin brown, your superpowers intact. What would your powers be? Just hope it ain't super whack. Spatial manipulation, create a portal that's black. Maybe just super speed, time travel to run it back. Or cheat manipulation to keep my spirit intact. As I encounter evils the world face, demons the world makes, I'm needed the world at stake. Rest in peace to Chadwick, they killed all the Black Panthers. Told us white lies, I still marvel at black answers. Suits in DC, pray it lead to a civil war. It ain't no Justice League, what's the need to be civil for? Propelled like the juggernaut, it's clear ain't no stopping this. The world in grave danger, who can stop the apocalypse? They killed all the heroes, the new ones don't really care. But if you need me, put your fist up in the air. Yeah, in the sky, it's a bird, it's a plane. Flying high, I emerge through the flames. Have no fear, I'm here, so stand back. Melanin activate, the name is super black. In the sky, it's a bird, it's a plane. Flying high, I emerge through the flames. Have no fear, I'm here, so stand back. Melanin activate, the name is super black.
Hey everybody, welcome to Blurred's Eye View, Fury's Reacts and Reviews. Tonight we have a special guest with us, Will Buchanan from Get Bit Podcast. And we're going to be talking about several things tonight. We're going to be talking about DC switching up their movie release dates. Nice move, Warner Brothers. We have a special giveaway code for the new Scream film. Let's pull that up right quick so you know what I'm talking about here, because it's just not any old thing now. So anyway, we have the new Scream film coming up. There we go. The new Scream film is, there he is. Thank you. So it is the new film starring Nev Campbell, David Arquette, Courtney Cox, and it is now on digital and demand. And we have a special giveaway code that you can get by putting in the simple little hashtag, Hello Sydney. There we are. And if you can check that out. So if you tune in tonight, you tap in, Hello Sydney. We got you for a special code. Let's get started with this. We have special guest, Will.
There you go. What's going on, Chris? How you doing, man?
All right. And we got my man, Crazy 8 the Great. What's going on?
What's happening? What up, dog?
It's been a lot going on this week. After an opening of $134 million,
Mm-hmm.
DC decided we're not saying. I wouldn't say DC. We gotta stop putting that in DC's lot. It's not DC's fault. It's Warner.
Warner Brothers.
It's Warner
Yeah,
Brothers.
Brothers.
After you have a major opening for, in my opinion, is a really great film. You turn around and you pushed all your movies back. One got pushed up, of course. That was Shazam, Fury of the Gods. That got pushed up from, I believe, next year up to what? December of this year, I want to say.
Yeah, December this year.
Yeah, December. So, but everybody else got pushed back. So you released like a 3-minute trailer like 3 weeks ago. It got everybody hyped up. This was the year of DC. You know, they want to drop all these movies within the next year and some change. And you came out the gate running with the Batman, which once again, great film. And what happens? Reshoots. Pushed everything back. At this point, I'm looking at The Rock like, will Black Adam ever see the light of day? I don't know.
He's lost to Kondak.
It's crazy though. It's crazy that this is even happening because I mean we get it. We hear this a lot, and I think now in this day and age where internet is very easily accessible and news about movies come out a lot more easier. It's kind of like it's almost jarring to constantly hear that kind of news.
It is, but I look at it like this way. I think what they saw with the Batman was like, okay, we saw the success it had on opening night. And I mean, well, not Thursday and Friday night, combine those two.
Yep.
They saw the success with that. And I think, and I want to say the powers that be sat there and said, this is a workable formula, but let's look at these other 3 movies and go, what's the stats of that right now? It's like, is it going to be on the same hype level as we did Batman, or are these next movies going to flop? Now, personally, I don't think Shazam's going to flop. Shazam! Fury of the Gods, I don't think that's going to flop because that was a solid movie. Aquaman, because it's being directed by James Wan, I don't think that's going to flop.
Right.
But you know, Black Adam is that's the wild card. You don't know. I mean, yes, everything The Rock has done has not been a failure. I mean, some have been okay, some have been over the top, some have been blockbusters. But I think because Black Adam is being so hyped up and has been hyped up for like the last couple of years, you know, them pushing it back makes me think that did the screen test not go the way they wanted them to go, or are we strategically planning it differently?
Or could it be both?
I really feel
Possible.
like just think about it. The Batman was supposed to come out 2021.
Right.
Its current success, I feel, is also attributed to we had to wait an extra year. So I feel like the hype behind Black Adam, and because everybody wants to see Black Adam and how that's going to work, the early trailers looked really good. I feel like it's going to work in his favor. I think you gotta wait a little longer, but I really work in his favor.
I was looking forward to it. I think the other thing which it's good, but then it's not, you know, because it's going to be on HBO Max April 19th. So it won't have your traditional 3-month run.
Right.
And I don't know how I feel about that. Like on the fan side of it, I'm just like, oh, great, I get to watch it at home now. But the other half of me is like, yo, you pretty much got a good cash cow. You might want to tap into that.
But that was Warner Brothers hedging his bets when we were still all cooped up, and going to the movies didn't always seem as almost normal as it does right now. So that's the reason why. I think what they did with HBO Max was like, hey, we'll release these movies in the theaters for 60 days, and then of course have their run on streaming services. And I think they were trying to hedge their bets because I think they do. I mean, obviously they're going to get a kickback from HBO Max about, you know, releasing their movies on the streaming service. But I don't think I'm not going to say they didn't think about it down the road, that they were kind of like, well, if it flops, we still get money. but they never considered what if this movie does on the same level. I won't say on the same level as Spider-Man No Way Home, but let's just say a quarter of that. I don't think they gave it that kind of consideration. That's why everybody's like, you're really about to be losing money, because a lot of people are going to be like, oh, we know when it's going to release on HBO Max. We'll just wait. And yeah, that does hurt theater sales a little bit, just because, like I said, I don't think they gave it that consideration, but I don't think they expected the reaction that it got either.
True. Well, since we're going to get right into it anyway, because let's face it, this is I love this. I'm loving what they did with this movie. So we're just gonna get right into it.
I'm vengeance.
Well, that lasted longer than I wanted to, but that's okay.
Hey, let it play.
The score is so fire. I'm mad at you.
It's really hard to get past that score. As guys, you hear that score, your walk slows up, everything slows up. You get a little more dramatic with it.
Yeah, your chest swells up a little bit, just like
I'm vengeance.
Right. This movie bomb, man. I gotta say, the score, like you said, Crazy 8, the score is on par. The cinematography on par. Like, it looks amazing. And we haven't even gotten to it, but the freaking makeup job,
man.
Right.
And we're gonna get into that. So we're gonna start with Will. Will, what was your takeaway from this movie?
First off, I owe Twilight Edward an apology. I did not think, sir. Understand, only thing I had before this was Twilight, because my fiance watches it. So I do apologize, sir. You are no longer the sparkly vampire that I did not think could be a bat. You can be a bat. So I just need to get that out there for the world to see that I apologize publicly to Twilight Edward. That being said, no, dude, I loved it from beginning to end. I went in with a whole bunch of hesitancy and walked out just confirmed that the way they took the story, the pace, the cadence, the attention to detail, and just the tone of it all, it felt like a different Batman movie. And I think that was the target they were trying to go for. And I was like, dude, I sat there the entire time just like, this was perfect. If this was a way that you're going to tell a Batman story, this was it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Crazy 8, what you think?
So I gotta say that out of all of the Batman films, and of course this is up there, but of course it don't beat my favorites, but even out of my favorites, this movie gave me the first feeling of I want to explore Gotham. I want to explore the mechanics of Gotham. I want to see who's like. I almost feel like every villain that we've ever come across in the comic book somewhere is in there, still being tapped. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. I cared so much about Gotham. And how it was. I love we always, you know what I'm saying, we always get how Batman put fear into criminals and shit, but we really got to the point of these dudes was looking at Shadow shook, and he wasn't man. Like, and for the I love the, you know what I'm saying, the voiceover dialogue part of it. It stayed true to that neo-noir like feel. And I love psychological thrillers anyway. So plays Batman inside that, which a lot of his comics tend to be, because he has cerebral villains. Like, you know, all his villains are cerebral to a certain degree. Yeah, they're playing back and forth with his sanity versus their insanity and how much they're actually alike. And I love the duality between him and Riddler the whole movie.
Man,
it was fire. Yeah, man, and I really, really enjoyed this movie, man, a whole lot, man. Just the actors brought something. Everybody brought something that I everybody was acting their ass off. I don't care like if they was in the movie for like 2 seconds or the whole. Everybody was bringing it, man. This movie was fire, man.
So I've already said it, but I'm going on record. I'm saying it right here, right now. Robert Pattinson, I apologize. Mike, you will. I did not like Twilight. I hated it. And so by the time I seen him again in Harry Potter, I was just like, oh, you're Cedric Diggory? Oh, you're gonna die. But you know, beyond that, I have seen him in other films, and I'm like, he's actually a really good actor.
Man, fantastic.
So, right. So by the time he comes around and he's playing this role, and I'm like, I had to go in there with, like you said, I had to go in there with some hesitancy, but I had to give it a chance because we've done it with Michael Keaton, we've done it with Jack Nicholson, we did it with Heath Ledger, we did it with Ben Affleck.
I just played fire for that one.
Yeah, so outside of Justice League, the Justice League, when I put it that way, but he showed improved, and for it to be a year too, and you know, granted, we don't like the emo look was, you know, it was like, it was a little emo when he was Bruce Wayne, but he was never really Bruce Wayne,
right?
He was, you know, even in comics, Bruce Wayne isn't Bruce Wayne. He's just mastered how to be Bruce Wayne out of Batman. That's all he did.
But I love the fact that like he didn't care about that at that point. Like if we're gonna like stick true to realism, if I got this chip on my shoulder from murdered parents, I don't care about being a billionaire either.
Right?
I want to beat the living crap out of everybody that looked like you shot my parents when I was a kid. Like, you know what I'm saying? So
I love his dynamic.
I've seen so many people complaining like, "Where's the billionaire playboy?" And I was like, "All right, first of all, did you not hear year 2?"
Right.
Thank you.
Like, this is Batman beta.
So weird. Like even when I did my my non-spoiler review via TikTok and everything, I kept getting these comments. This movie's trash. Where's the billionaire playboy? This. And I was like, did y'all like miss everything that like? It's
literally written on a notepad.
His clumsiness, him getting certain clues wrong during the crime scene, it was on purpose to show you like this is early on. Everybody's not polished. He's still in his 20s.
And
like,
it was perfect.
It was absolutely
very perfect.
He fit this world perfectly.
He did, and like you said earlier, falling in love with the city of Gotham. Gotham was its own character.
It was a character, right, the whole time.
Like we finally got to see this crime noir, this gritty. It was like you could smell the piss coming off the screen. It was that gritty. I'm just like, man, this is crazy how they're getting it. And then when it's already dark, it's already grim. You know, it's always cloudy, this overcast.
Always
but
raining.
Then when only in Gotham. But then they show like the interior of his tower that he's living in. I'm like, damn, this dude's like in a haunted mansion. You know,
that's the creepiest. Wayne Manor was the creepiest thing I ever seen.
I was like, this is some dark. This is gothic.
But that's the reason why. That's the reason why it worked. That's the reason why the whole setting worked. Because I like I said, crazy. I know you. Like I said, I ran into some people too. It's just like, man, where's this? Where's that? I had to ask them. I said, do you understand? There's multiple levels of Batman stories, right? I'm like, you do know, like the year. I was like, go back and read Batman Year One. If you don't make it past the first issue, then Year One's not for you. You might as well just go along the lines to where he's a little bit more refined. And in this movie, that's why I said this movie was perfect. Like we all said. He was clumsy because there was a couple of falls he took. I was like, yeah, you got up.
Yeah, I thought he was gonna retire right then after hitting that the subway tunnel thing.
Man.
When he was trying to jump, he kind of missed that flight.
After the flight suit. Oh my god, when he did that, I felt it. I was just like, oh damn. Oh,
at the same time, I'm like, his fighting skills were not that plush either because he was taking some shots.
yeah.
But
that it was perfect. It was.
But that's the reason why it worked, though.
It gave
but
me
exactly.
It gave me Arkham games.
Yep.
Long Halloween. It gave me all those vibes, and I'm like, I'm so in love with this right now.
Oh, you didn't want to play an Arkham Knight like I did after you got the movies, did you?
I stood up there. I was like, let me finish these damn Riddler puzzles on this shit.
By the time I got out the movie theater, I was so like, I'm surprised I got some sleep. Like it was crazy.
I
can say that, but my tail was like, I was still so hype about it. I was like, my fiance goes straight to sleep. I'm just like, this ain't gonna work. And I started cycling through all my games. I was like, hey, Arkham Knight. Yeah, why not?
I ended up throwing on I did end up throwing on like the 90s animated series and let that run to like
because it's the vibe.
It's the vibe.
And I had a lot of Batman to choose from to watch when I got home, and I was like, yeah, let me throw the Old Faithful on real quick.
The good old Faithful series that we're not going to really recognize the rest of them.
Right. So we've already apologized to Robert Pattinson, but this sister here, this is our new Catwoman. I was very impressed by her. Zoe Kravitz showed her ass. She got in her bag on this one. And even her look, because this is year 2. Right. Even her look didn't bother me. I'm like, as basic as it is, she still handled herself.
It's supposed to be like that.
Yeah, exactly. And their dynamic, that shit worked.
That's why I didn't.
I liked them. The awkward moments they had where it looked like Batman was supposed to kiss her and he just don't.
Yeah, like he wants to. He feels like that.
Like she wants him to, and he like, I mean, what you about to do?
Right.
We got crimes and shit to solve. Like, what you about to go do? Like,
I mean, even the line nearly in the movie when she's leaving town and she's trying to convince him to come with him or come with her, and she was like, "Yeah, somebody else has your heart," and
right.
You know it's always Gotham,
right?
Always wins it out, and I'm like, damn, it's like right out the book.
The dopest thing for me though, and like me and B like was like bumping elbows when we was in the theater watching this shit. But they gave her like small elements of Michelle Pfeiffer's Catwoman theme.
Yep.
I've watched 10 million breakdown videos about Batman. Nobody has mentioned the Catwoman score that's like an homage to the Michelle Pfeiffer. Yes. And I was like, how did y'all miss that? I mean, everybody's comment section. So what about Catwoman's music?
That little mix between Tim Burton's and Eartha Kitt song back in the whole series. Yeah,
it's like it was a perfect blend. I was like, yo, I was like, Giacchino is killing his score, man.
That's he tried to go for that Grammy.
That's
Grammy score.
He won already.
That's that stuff that you. That's like I've constantly said it. I said if they don't get nominated for cinematography, for the score, or for the makeup, they've been robbed. And I'm not saying that as a fan of comics. I'm saying that like you looking at this as a fan of film.
It was a film, right? It was done. It was very well done.
It was beautiful.
That's why I couldn't complain about Colin Farrell. I'm like, I had to do a couple takes looking at him, like, and the way they did his character. And I was people.
That wasn't Colin Farrell. That's Oz.
It wasn't that right. He said it's not Colin Farrell. You know, it was crazy because nobody recognized it. But it was crazy because nobody recognized him. Jeffrey Wright did not recognize this man.
Right.
No one recognized this man.
That's a sign of great makeup. You can walk past complete strangers and they're looking at you like you don't belong here.
And great acting though, like even in inflection and everything, this was not like the normal Colin Farrell role. Like,
right.
I was sitting there like, I had to like because the second time I just saw it for the second time with my mom and shit, and she saw the ending credit. We had the ending credits and shit, and she see Colin Farrell's name in the ending credits. She was like, "So wait, who was Colin Farrell?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm about to blow your mind." Right? I was like, wait, listen up. He was the Penguin. She says, "Oh my god!"
But that's
when
how good it was,
Colin
though.
Farrell, they're doing he's doing press junket tours for the movie and everything, and I believe it was the Tonight Show he was on, and he says he was in makeup and everything, and he said he just kind of got engulfed in the character. He said Jeffrey Wright walks on set and he says, "Hey man," and Jeffrey Wright gives him a look like, "Who the hell are you and why are you here?" And so he goes and talks to the director, and the director points back at him, and he walks over there. He's like, "Colin? Oh my god!" He's like, "Oh my god!"
But
all the way from Brazil, what's going on?
Oh yeah, but he was. When I say I loved his role, I love the way they did him in the movie. He was literally
he looks like him.
He looks nothing like him. Exactly, he doesn't. I mean, that's the thing that kills me. Plus his whole mannerisms and cadence. I was like, I love the way they set him up because they never mentioned the Penguin the whole time. It was always his own name. It was pretty much just Oswald. And I love the fact that they did not do any inflection toward it, didn't call him an animal, just sat there and said, "You're never going to be this, you're never going to be that. You think you're going to be the top dog in Gotham," and all this stuff. I love the setup beyond that. That was beautiful.
It was amazing how he played his role, and even the interrogation scene. And I'm laughing because he's like, "What was this? Back out, batshit cop." And he's like, and he's giving it right back to him. And I'm like, how do you, good sir, you're an actor, is what you are. You're an actor, and I'm going to give you that. It's amazing how they pulled this off. Amazing how they pulled this off. And it's like I said, if they don't get this, they get nominated, they're robbed.
Oh, if they get this, then if they don't get this, then we know it's truly screwed. Right. Like, let's be honest.
There's no hope for the world.
Right. Because the way he looks, though, that just is wow.
Like even the side by, you can't tell. Even at the side by side, you cannot tell. Right. It's insane.
That's crazy.
But they need to give it to that makeup crew that did that. And he, like he said, I'm just a canvas. I'm like, dude, don't be so modest. Don't be so modest. Like, dude, they did a great job on it, and you just knew what to run with. Wow. Right. And then Jeffrey Wright, who already another accomplished actor, he's my Jim Gordon now.
Yep.
I can take this now. J.K. Simmons, stay J. Jonah Jameson. It's fine. We're okay. This is our Jim Gordon now, especially now that we are getting Batgore on HBO Max. So we're just like, okay, I think y'all might be onto something.
As long as they don't change the formula, because I know, because with some movies when they come out and they do great, and then it's like, okay, we already knew that HBO Max is already doing 2 spinoffs. We know there's going to be a spinoff with Colin Farrell's like Penguin. We know there's going to be a spinoff with the Gotham PD with Jim Gordon starting out. That's fine, because I've been saying this for years that I want DC. I want a DC to go different directions in their storytelling. You don't always have to go the heroes route, because technically the heroes like Jim Gordon stories, there's multiple stories out there involving him.
Who was it? Ed Brubaker, when he was writing GCPD Central. That's some great stuff, man.
But that's what they're basing a lot of that story off of.
Yeah, right. That was some great stuff. And how many times did you see Batman show up in it? Like, it was, and when he did, it was so far in the back.
It was an afterthought, pretty much.
Yeah. It was like, I don't care about that. I want to see what's going on here with this precinct.
Right.
That's the reason why I think it works too, because like you said, in them stories, Batman wasn't really there. And this will be centered around year 1 Batman leading up to the movie. So he won't be there a lot in there anyway, because it's like the police really got to figure out what's going on with all this crime.
Right.
You still got the corruption element to deal with.
The crime families and still in between. That's all.
I loved how they did that with it. I was like, finally, we get the fully corrupt Gotham. Finally. Like,
the
you
guy
don't know who to trust. And even when he was like, oh yeah, Falcone, he's got them all in his pockets. And I'm like, yes, the Falcone, because that's something you can't never get rid of. The Falcone and Maroni, you cannot get rid of that stuff. Like, you're like, Carmine might be dead, but there's always another Falcone and there's always another Maroni somewhere. And I love
do love John Turturro's acting on that. John Turturro as him just comes
so
in
unexpected.
And he was so easy and charismatic with it. Like, you
like
loved
you
him.
couldn't hate him.
Yeah.
Like,
hate him at the same time.
It wasn't until he lashes out in with physicality that you're just like, oh, this is why I gotta hate him. Right. You know, like when he's choking.
He has so much swag the whole movie.
But you gotta love how he smooth just sat there and told Bruce Wayne. It told Bruce Wayne, it's like, yeah, your dad came to me. He had a problem. I handled it.
Yeah,
that's it. That was it. It's like
you're right. He still didn't say enough to incriminate himself.
Right.
Like, you could just tell, like, I took care of it. Whatever.
Yeah, he said, you want a straight answer? I said, look, your old man's not as good of a man as he thought he was.
He sprinkled just enough sugar on there,
right?
Just enough. He's just like, I need to go talk to Alfred about this shit.
that was the cold game part of it. He's like, yeah, your dad had an issue. Your mom was crazy, and the whole thing about it was like nobody. You want to sit there and see Alfred say something. Nobody sat there and was like, well, he wasn't wrong.
Right. This was the first time that I had the whole Arkham spin for his mom.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This is the first time I've come across that, and I really, really love that.
Yeah, right? Because we don't really get too much background.
And it's like him really being the Prince of Gotham because his father is a Wayne and his mom is a Arkham. So it's like that's fire when you think about it. Like, that's so fire.
But the funny part is, that's at first was an Elseworld story. Like they were so scared. At the time, this is when DC was trying to be safe and go middle of the road. They didn't want to actually use his mom as saying that, yeah, your mom's last name was Arkham and she was in the loony bin, because they were afraid that would tarnish Batman as a moral obligated superhero. They couldn't find out that your mom was crazy.
Okay.
As if him adopting minors.
Right.
It wasn't dark enough.
So safe. So safe.
That was the thing I laughed about. I was telling my fiance and wound up educating half the movie theater. I'm like, yeah, that's an Elseworld story. It's like, when people hear in the movie theaters, it's like, really? That actually is true? I said, yeah. Next thing you know, well, where is that? Oh, it's Elseworlds. I think it's like issue 36, 35. Oh, really? Yeah. And then you wind up teaching half the movie theater, like, yeah, this is an actual storyline. And they chose not to go with it for publication reasons. Because, they always got blue sky parents everywhere.
I thought that was so dope. And it also kind of like validates his mental state. Mm-hmm. Why he chose to be Batman versus, you know what I'm saying? It's like,
it makes you question some things now, doesn't it?
That's in your blood. Like, you know what I'm saying? You said your blood could be a little off now. You know what I'm saying?
That's why Alfred was like, well, he's going to do this. I might as well steer him.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Because think about it. No good caregiver is going to be like, hey, look, bro, you probably shouldn't do this. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
The history. He like, well, there ain't shit I can do about it.
Right.
This boy's just nuts in his blood. And he's just got nuts in him.
Right. Yeah, that's why I was like, Alfred. That's why I love about Alfred's character about that. He's like, he says, the only reason I'm helping you do this is the only reason I'm helping you with this is to help you keep your sanity. It's like it was like he's like, we could have had you in Arkham a long time ago, but no, you're exactly right. You're crazy. You're exactly right. It was the whole thing of it, like when you literally sit there and come to find out that your mom was nuts, everything, and that's why I love that what Matt Reeves did with this was that the moment that got interjected into his mind, it was like bump it. Everything else is I don't care moment, and that made it perfect at that point. To the point to where he was like, well, I'm going to talk to Alfred, and then, and then the Riddler, which, whoo, I forgot the actor's name. I forgot
Paul
his name.
Dano.
To save my life right now.
Paul Dano.
Yep.
That man, I was like,
What's his name?
I applauded it. When the
What's
movie was
his
going
name?
over, I applauded him. Like, bruh, if I did not expect you to play the Riddler like that, I didn't.
Yeah, it was. What's going on, Nat?
Yeah.
It was something incredible.
Yeah.
Paul Dano.
Mm.
You've seen this guy in a bunch of other stuff. You really
Mhm.
have. But I didn't think I was going to like this look.
It worked. It worked
It
so
does. It's such a jigsaw moment.
well. Mhm.
And
It's such
what's
a-
dope about that too is that it's still year 2 for his ass too. So
Yeah.
like, but he can
So now-
escape Arkham and get more comic book accurate over time. Like, you know
Like
what I'm
this
saying?
right
Like,
here.
yeah,
You know,
like
come
it's-
down a little bit.
It's really dope. And the
even
fact that,
even
you know
when
what
we
I'm
seen
saying?
this version from Gotham, the TV
Yeah.
show, when we seen
Right.
that was this close. That was pretty much the spot on look.
Pretty
But
much.
this, I'm
Yeah, I
looking
love-
at it like,
Yeah.
wow, like,
But it's
oh,
very
dude.
it's very clandestine. And I think that, like I said, like I'll say, going back to the year 2 thing again, very clandestine, but at the same time, it works so well just for the mindset that he had. Was like, you know, especially with the duct tape. And I was making jokes about the duct tape every time I saw it. I said, I don't know what Home Depot he's in, but if I was in Gotham and I'm tracking this guy, go to wherever the duct tape is missing, because I guarantee you're gonna find him.
He's got a storehouse full of duct tape somewhere, craft stores somewhere. This dude's got duct tape hidden all over the place. It was
Man.
crazy. I'm gonna tell you the dynamic between these two
Mhm.
was just what I needed to see.
Yep.
In
been
this
just-
particular scene, when he's in the precinct and he has to pose like he's talking down to him, all in his face. It was so funny because he's Jeffrey Wright. Like I said, man, he's an accomplished. He's a great actor. He's talking him down. He's all in his face, and he's like, but he's giving him clues. He's like, take this key.
Right.
I kind of got Casino Royale vibes from that one.
Yeah, right.
James Bond for a second, like, hold up.
Yeah, and then he turns around and he was like, well, you hit me. He was like, so when he does it, he catches him off guard and does
And
it.
that was the perfect, and that's a bit like they showcase Batman having like these real genius moments
Mm-hmm.
every time, and it's always subtle. So it's like, all right, I'm gonna wait till he look away, and then I'm gonna clock him in and get out, because that looks more believable than a full on punch.
Yeah,
Right.
And
when
then the next time you see him,
beats
he's like,
up-
"Man, you could have
punch."
pulled your punch." He was like,
He's like,
I
I
did.
did. I'm like,
He's
you
like, I did pull my
motherfucker.
I mean, it was a sucker punch. You kind of fold him a little bit, but it's like, hey, we've seen the punches he was
I
throwing
know
earlier.
he was probably
Yeah,
like,
no,
he was like,
he
you
was
son of a
handled that,
bitch.
right? I believed him when he said he pulled his punch from how much he was whooping ass in this movie.
Yeah, now let's talk about that, because he was when he walks on the scene. Number one, you talk about drama buildup.
Mhm.
When he's walking, you hear the footsteps. It was almost like I could have swore I was hearing stirrups. I could have
That was
swore
genius.
Right.
it was just this thump, thump, and like you said, Will, he had everybody scared, looking
Shook.
into shadows.
Man.
They were shook.
And when that first scene when he's
Somebody
in the
got hit by
subway,
a car.
Right.
yeah,
They was shook of a
Yeah.
dark alley they couldn't see into.
But that
It's
was
like
he's
he's
running
running
out
out in
of just using sound and just using
Yeah.
direction. That's why I loved about it. It was so simple, where it was no special effects. It was just an emphasis on darkness and sound, and just let it roll. And I'm like, I was sitting there the whole time, like, as they showed different scenes where you like you're talking about, the guy in the alleyway is looking at darkness, like, nah, bruh, I'm out.
You can almost see the fear, even though he had a mask on.
Yeah.
Like he had that.
He had the
fear,
little
like,
weird fruit mask or whatever the fuck it
Yeah,
was, and
he's
I could
like,
see him
he
being
was like, I
terrified.
just robbed a corner store, and I'll be damned. I'm not going down that alley.
And I just
Especially
I
after
love
they
how-
seen the
I love how
spotlight, he was like,
even in that moment, in his voiceover is like, the city's a big place. I can't be everywhere at once. And you get to see how effective his fear tactics have been.
Yeah.
That people just shook. Like, once they saw the bat signal was in the sky, they was like, oh, yeah, these dark alleys is crazy.
Yeah. I forgot. I got to go home and get the baby.
Yeah, like, I'm not even robbing people. I'm about to get his money back real quick. Hold on.
Right. Like they spray him and they graffiti. And I'm like, dude, you just doing graffiti. He dropped
the can. It was like, nah.
Because once that can rolled over and it got into too much darkness, he was like, yeah, I don't even want that can no more.
I'm like, I don't want none of that. I'm out. I'm out.
Man, that was the greatest. Like, that's one of the best Batman entries of all time.
It was. It really was. And I couldn't say enough good stuff about it because, 3 hours. 3-hour film. And even the third act where you think they've got the Riddler, he's locked up, he goes to do the interrogation, and you see just how off Riddler really is.
Yeah.
And he's just like, we were going to do this together. And he's like, what are you talking about? And then he breaks it down.
I think that's one of the best reveals of the movie is because the trailers led us to believe he discovered who Bruce Wayne was. And of course, we all know the Hush story and shit like that. So it's not unbelievable that he would have deduced that he was Batman or whatever. So the fact that the actor knew to like not do normal pauses in speech so that you wouldn't know that he had two different thoughts going on. That's great acting.
Because when he started saying Bruce Wayne,
and I'm the timing of that.
He just figured his shit out, but then he kept going. But when he kept going,
you see Bruce look at the camera like
the look
on camera.
Yeah.
It like he was about to cry because he got found out. Like he just Robert Pattinson was acting his ass off behind the cowl, man. Like just flowing with his eye. Like, cause you gotta remember, this nigga he had the least amount of dialogue in the whole movie compared to everybody else.
Yeah.
It had the most presence in a lot of scenes and not even saying nothing. Like when he was looking at evidence and the cop like, what you doing in here? You just look at him. And then go back to doing what
he didn't say nothing. He
you probably shouldn't be. And then he look at him again like, you probably shut fuck up.
No, this the scene that got me. When he's sitting up there and then one cop says, he was like, Captain, he's touching the evidence. He was like, he's got gloves on. And I'm like, it's not wrong.
Where your gloves at, officer? Like, where your gloves at?
Oh, that was too funny.
It was some great comedy that was placed in there, man.
Yeah, it was. It really was.
But the way the Riddler did, though, every clue was like a bigger, and that's what I loved about that, was that every clue led to a bigger picture. And then when it got to the point where, find the rat and bring him to the light, and the fact that he was like, he thought about every clue that he thought about was like, crap, I've just been basically doing exactly what he wanted me to do. And even at the end, like I said, even at the end when he's in jail, so he's like, oh, I thought you were so much smarter than this. It was just like,
that's such a Riddler thing. It's such a Riddler because he says that he was like, I thought you was smarter than this.
And it's like, the whole thing about the Riddler, which killed me, was it was like, I didn't want them to go the origins. I didn't want them to go origin, but I love the fact that they sprinkled in. It's like, we were watching, it's like, okay, what's Riddler's connection to all this? Because we know from comics and from the animated series where he starts from, but where are they specifically going to put Riddler in this? I loved how little of attention they gave it. It's like it got to the very end, and then you're like, oh, he was part of the group for the home. And they left it at that. That was it.
Yeah.
Didn't go any deeper.
Did at any part in the whole sequence of you finding out his connection to the Waynes and everything from back then, was there room for it to be implied that the reporter that got killed could have been his father?
Could have, yeah. I mean, there is that speculation.
I've seen the movie twice, and like, because that theory got pitched to me, and I seen the movie twice, and I was like, I guess so, but nothing was like expressly stated. And I love that Matt Reeves did that a couple times throughout the film.
This
So
was
where
just
some
a
shit
well
was
put
just
together film.
yeah, like some shit
Yeah.
was just like left openly implied.
Yeah, about
And
his
then
father,
it was
about his
like,
father
yeah.
exposing the truth, and that
Right.
everybody he talked to was like, no more lies, or
Right.
tell the truth, or this man is guilty, or I always love when they say, even on the walls inside the old building, renewal is a lie, and I'm like, as like a friend of mine did point that they said, well, the report they talked to, they did say he had a wife and a son.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like it leaves that open out, like, well, is it basically, and of course, the sins of the father, which I love the fact they took an old Batman story of the sins of the father. I'm like, it was beautiful, and the way it was all tied together.
Were they implying towards the Hush storyline and everything?
Right.
It was so much.
The reporter's last name was Elliot, so that was a nod to Tom Elliott and shit. So yeah, that was dope, man.
It was something amazing. I'm gonna tell you who I felt sorry for. I felt sorry for the twin doormen over at the Iceberg Lounge. I swear to God, every time, if it wasn't Batman, it was Bruce Wayne. And I was like, every time, I'm like, you guys have got to be the worst doormen in history.
Or you got to be getting paid really good to come back to work.
To keep coming back to work.
You must have incredible dental. That's all I got to say. You gotta have incredible dental.
And the fact that that first time he shows up and he literally boss walks his way in there.
Yeah.
That was it. And really nobody really stopped him for a good distance. They were just like, oh shit, that's the Bat. Fuck it. He pushed me out the way. I don't care. He kept it going until he got to the stairwell, and that's when it started kicking off. And when that one, he shot that grappling hook and snapped it and pulled him back. I'm like, dude,
you don't pay me enough for this.
Batman, he spots the cop whose nose he broke.
Right.
And he's like, I love how he cases the joint because he's really casing the joint. And he was like, who's the cop with the broken nose? He said that's McKenzie. He was like, yeah, I ran into him at the Iceberg Lounge the other night. He's like, you saying he's moonlighting for the Penguin? He's doing something.
I think he moonlighting as a cop. That was like, I love the way that like the banter was like written for real. It was like really witty. This shit was. This
is the duo I can see every New Year's Eve having coffee at the diner. That's the duo I can see having that happen. It was like, here's to another year. I can see those two doing that,
and it was perfect. The collaboration that they had between each other was just perfect. And I love the fact that even though the entire Gotham PD disliked, well, I won't say disliked, most of them disliked him. Some of them feared him. So it's like he gotta have
that first crime scene when he walks in.
Yeah,
you see
everybody. The tension. It's so much tension to just him being there.
Right.
And it's always that one cop. He was like, "Hey, he's not supposed to be here." I'm thinking to myself, "Hey, you need to shut the fuck up." And
like anybody that's like confident enough to show up to an active crime scene wearing that will probably break your face.
Right.
Wait, he puts his hand on his chest. I'm like, I don't think you want to do that.
Don't do that.
You like you, and don't be crooked, because then you're gonna give him more just cause to do it. So, I loved how he was just. Yeah, the way
the look he gave it all was just like, you got Jim Gordon going. It's like, look, you might want to let the man step through. It's like the look he gave was like, you might want to let the man pass. And so, because whatever it's almost implied, like, look, he knocks you out. We didn't see nothing.
Yeah, right.
Fact.
The entire precinct chasing him chasing him inside the precinct. I'm like, y'all let all y'all, and this was it. Right when he got to the roof and he was getting ready to jump,
and that was the moment. Nervous real quick.
He hesitated. He was just like, it was that moment where he's like, remember your training. Remember your training.
Yeah, it's like it was that moment. Real quick, he was like, all right, I did prepare for this. Yeah. He had to remember he prepared for it.
And before I realized it was a flight suit, I'm like, well, because it was looking slick from from the shot they were showing. I'm like, oh damn, it's just a normal flight suit.
Yep.
But the way it was looking, I'm like, why did this shit look like a suit? I'm like, what is he doing?
This was pre-Lucius. You got to remember, this is pre-Lucius Fox. It did not have all
the pre-Lucius Fox, right?
I was trying to tell people that was another complaint. People go, he had these shitty ass gadgets and this, and I was like,
I'll be honest with you, none of them gadgets were shitty. He was dressed for the occasion. Because I will tell you now, that car chase scene, when he gets in that car and he rubs that, I seen this joint in IMAX and I was like, oh, I felt it. And then he does that taunt. He does that taunt like, oh shit.
Okay, it was a taunt because I thought the car was fired.
I thought so too at first. Because at first I was just like, don't tell me the car just I thought the same thing for that split moment. I thought it was a misfire, but it was still going. I'm like, oh no, he was taunting them because I seen it twice. So he was like, oh, he was taunting them. And that entire chase scene, and I'm like, the Batmobile did not tear up shit. And I love this car. I absolutely love this car.
The jet fire engine on the back.
Oh my god, when he blows through that tanker after Penguin thinks he's got him.
Oh, that was a beautiful setup.
It's even better when you see it in the film and not just in the trailer.
Yeah.
And then as he walks up to him and he just kind of like on the inside,
that
like,
ping over.
you know that's your ass, right? You know that.
But if you could make out the silhouette of his gear, because he's got like a pouch on his leg and everything else. I'm like, he's dressed for the occasion.
And like what kind, like,
and I'm okay with it.
His armor was Beskar, nigga. Like that's
it was.
I'm glad I don't
way more bullets than any Batman I've ever seen.
And it's probably one of the best designs I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Like this is just a stunt double, but it's still probably one of the best functional designs I've seen. And I love that collar.
Yeah.
I love that freaking collar that he's got. It's something about that collar. I'm like, keep that look. Don't change that look.
Crazy A was right, because all the bullets he was taking, I was like, what kind of armor? I said, it was
Beskar.
I was like, hey, you just sit there just walking forward, which again, that hallway scene, love the hallway scene, just because of the fact, like, okay, we're just gonna keep firing multiple rounds as he's walking toward us. And the whole just no light, but just gunfire. You just see it beat down.
Flashes.
Imagine how many people got holes in them right now that ain't Batman.
You want to tell me how you got shot?
Riddled people.
My partner blindly shot me as I was getting my ass whooped.
If you live to tell the story,
one person.
If
you live to tell the story, because I'm pretty sure. Them bodies are still in that hallway right now.
There's probably two people in Gotham right now just going, so you decided to fire a shotgun in the dark. I think he was going to hit this dude.
And you thought it was a good idea to keep shooting, correct?
Yeah, I'm talking
and
about
how many of you was there?
Crazy.
It was like 7 of us.
Bouncing off in the shadows of the shells. The shoe was crazy.
I'm like, it was. This was a beautifully shot film. And we say this about a lot of every time we get a new Batman or a new Batman film, and they just keep setting the bar. And in my honest opinion, I feel like maybe Warner Brothers is better off, for right now anyway, doing standalones, because it's the standalones that seem to really amp up. They seem to get better.
And the directors that they're choosing to do so.
The directors they choose.
I'll partly agree with that. I'll partly agree with that because, number one, I mean, like, you're right. Directors make the movies. We've seen if a director has creative control, knows the tone and theme of where he's going with the movies,
right.
We see what happens. We see great movies when that happens with that. Right. Do I think if standalone movies are okay for right now, which I know I'm going to sound very hypocritical in saying this, but eventually, if DC in their wondrous wisdom decides that they want to attempt another Justice League, I'm not saying there needs to be continuity. I'm not saying there needs to be continuity between the movies, but at the same time, there needs to be some correlation between them. Like you can sprinkle a little bit here and there. I mean,
just
for example,
force feed it.
Yeah, don't force feed it. Like if they want to do another Batman where they still follow Robert Pattinson and go that route, we don't need to see it on a superhero. You can do it. You can just simply mention a name, mention a city, and just sit there and say, "Oh, they're having the same problem in Metropolis. They're having the same problem in Central City. They're having the same problem in Star City." Or there's this thing that appeared over in Greece that looks like a shield, but it's not Roman.
Yeah,
that's it. That's all you need to do, and just leave it at that. Let that little tidbit be out there, because again, we don't want to take away from the movies themselves. Like I said, between how they did the Batman, I have no issues with that. Still looking forward to the spinoffs and everything to go from there. It's like the other DC movies we talked about. Will Black Adam be good? Let's be honest. It's a coin flip. We hope.
Yeah.
We hope it'll be good, but it's a coin flip.
It's the same with Shazam: Fury of the Gods. One of the reasons why it works so well is Zachary Levi. Zachary Levi is kind of a fan favorite amongst nerds.
Yeah.
Like if you've watched Chuck and Heroes Reborn,
Oh, hey, I love Chuck. I love Chuck.
I'm actually rewatching Chuck anyway. Yeah, I'm actually rewatching Chuck. So I'm like on season 3 of Chuck again, and but he's a nerd. He loves this stuff. So for him, it's almost him watching him play Shazam and the way he's reacting. I'm like, it's just Zachary Levi, playing a hero. It's like watching Ryan Reynolds. It's like Ryan Reynolds is playing Deadpool. I'm like, no, Ryan Reynolds is Deadpool. That's what it is.
Different movies. That's it. Freak Out was basically Deadpool without a mask.
It's variance. It's a variance. That's all it is.
Like his personality, like the comic creators really based it off of Ryan Reynolds' sarcasm. Like that's I think they even mentioned him at some point in the comic.
He was mentioned in the Deadpool comic.
Yeah, so it's so ingrained. This is like, dude, you're stuck with it. Deal with it. It's a good thing to be stuck with.
The new Nick Fury off of Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah,
and then they finally get Samuel L. Jackson to play. I was like, yo, that's fire.
Right.
The funny story behind that is they did it before they asked him.
Yeah,
and,
right.
And they got the call from him, and they were just like, "Oh, you got the call from Sam Jackson." And I wonder how many motherfuckers you were before he realized it was like it was okay.
It's like
you motherfuckers could have asked me first, So
it's funny you should ask, Mr. Jackson. It's funny you should ask because I want to talk to you about initiative.
Motherfucker, what are you talking about now? Right. So I'm glad that they got this, and we're at an age now. We're at a age in movies where you have to tell a good film. You have to tell a good story in a 2-hour plus film. You have to.
Yep.
It's no longer a 90-minute film. This is not a kids movie. It's no longer 90 minutes where you can tell a story. It's happy-go-lucky, and boom, you're done.
But the funny part is you mentioned that this, if anything, after this movie successfully just shows you can tell adult-driven comic book movies. There is a market for that now.
I mean, because to be honest, we the only ones in the theater.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Like real kids ain't in the theaters to see this shit unless it's Spider-Man.
The 2 times I went, I probably seen 3 kids. And
I wouldn't take my kids. My kids
time I was annoyed. Somebody brought really little kids for my second viewing of the movie. Ooh. I was so annoyed.
Like, look,
I was like,
you can barely show them.
You better be lucky that I seen this one time before uninterrupted, because I would have been like, I'd have got kicked out the theater, man.
That's what I had to tell my kids. My kids were like, "Oh, we want to go see Batman." No, but you can't go see this one. No.
Why?
No, because
you ain't ready.
You,
You
it's
ain't
like,
ready.
I tell you what, and he's like, well, we played Five Nights at Freddy's. I said, that ain't the same thing. Where it going? I said, come back to me when you're 12 years old, but you ain't watching this.
Now, I know the biggest hang up that I kept hearing, the biggest complaint I would hear, there's two of them. One, it was like, there wasn't enough action. I'm like, what the hell were you looking at? Because I was completely okay with what I got.
We've been spoiled with the way that blockbusters are put together.
Right.
So most audiences are spoiled. But what I loved about this movie was every 5 to 10 minutes, something action was going on. Some kind of fight scene was going on. Something was going on. Then you'll get these dope moments of cerebralness, and you got to think about shit, psychological. And then right after that, somebody's getting their ass whooped or shot at every time.
And that's the thing.
Throughout the whole movie, for 3 hours straight, it went up and down in this roller coaster the whole time.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
People just used to these 12 to 15 minute just spectaculars every time they
like,
get
no, it's not that you can't measure it up to Endgame or No Way Home. Right. You can't do that. It's not fair.
But that's the downside. But that's the downside of guys like us that have seen. We grew up on various superhero movies.
Right.
Anybody after 2002, they didn't really get the same thing we got. Everything was fast paced. It was action from beginning to end.
Let me sit you down.
They didn't have to sit through Superman Returns.
Right. Here, kid, let me sit you down and watch and show you the television movie of the trial of the Incredible Hulk. First time you actually see Daredevil. Let me sit you down so you can watch that. You know,
the original Avengers television show.
Oh boy. Boy, we have been through the fire. I'm telling you.
Eric, that makes movies like the Batman just that much better because I've been through every type of superhero movie that didn't work.
that line that Bane says in The Dark Knight Rises, like, I was born in the darkness. You were merely adopted in it. You know, I just like I was born in it. I'm like, yeah, that's how I feel about. I've felt all of that.
Yeah.
I've watched all these movies. I've dealt with it, the pain. I've dealt with some of the letdowns, and I'm like, look, we've seen movies that we're just like, I would never watch that again.
Yeah. But that's the reason why.
But I won't admit the loss.
I sat there and said a few movies. Well, I pride myself on not going to movies that bomb, even though I've taken the L sometimes. But but no, it's just like with these type of stories, that's all it's. I have said this, and I will always say this: if the movie has a great story, it won't bomb. But
that's it.
But it won't bomb. But some folks who don't get it will say it sucks.
Right.
Because there's a lot of people out there. Especially I know that people I still talk to is like, oh man, well, you said the Batman was good. I said it is good because it has a story. What you wanted was Batman Begins. That's what you wanted. You wanted Batman Begins. You literally, I mean, if I sat you down and said, look, I'll give you 2 Batman movies you can watch. You can watch Dark Knight or you can watch Batman Begins. 9 times out of 10, most people who choose action will go to Batman Begins.
Right.
Most people who want story go to the Dark Knight.
Right.
Because what do you remember from the Dark Knight? You remember every iconic line that Heath Ledger's Joker has ever said. Not about the fact that he basically burned Harvey Dent and basically said, "Hey man, about your girl, sorry. Your girl was a casualty. Sorry." We remember that. But everybody remembers from Batman Begins, the only thing they remember is simple fact of the matter is mostly fighting. And that just goes to show you there's 2 type of moviegoers out there. Those that like story and those that like action. But for a lot of us who grew up on action films, we've been through the Chuck Norrises, the Bruce Lees, the the black exploitation films. We've been through all that.
The Roger Corman Fantastic Four movie.
Yeah.
The televised Justice League movie. And I'm not talking about Zack Snyder.
Yeesh.
We've hunted stuff down just to see it and realized, why did I do that to myself? Because we are in this, damn it.
We are dedicated.
Oh man, just like the old Fantastic Four joint.
Yes. Mr. Fantastic's arm literally looked like a rubber glove with a broomstick in it. That's just how. Although that was the most accurate Dr. Doom to date.
Dr. Doom looked like a Hoover vacuum with screws.
And that was the problem. That's because it was too accurate.
I mean, every time I see that, I'm like, you basically said, let me take a Hoover vacuum and make it into a bodysuit. That's pretty much what you did. That was a Doom bot.
That was a Doom bot.
It was a Doom bot.
That was a Doom bot.
Oh my God.
I let that
it
slide.
was so bad. Some of the stuff that we dealt with.
Oh, not as bad as I was gonna say, what was the worst one? David Hasselhoff as Nick Fury.
Oh my God.
I remember that.
Oh my God.
If there was ever a low point in Marvel, it was that movie. Nick Fury aged that.
No, Dolph Lundgren as the Punisher.
Ooh.
Okay. Yeah, that was you were so hyped to have that. You were so hyped to get that. And then when you got it, you was like, I was robbed.
Yeah, it was
or the Nicolas Cage Superman movie we never got. Thank God.
Oh, there's a reason why it's buried. There's a reason why it's buried. That movie will never see the light of day. I was trying to think what was a really bad one?
Bombers.
Yeah. What else are you saying?
I said we dealt with some bombs. We dealt with some absolute bombs, and we had to because we were fans. Yeah,
I can't say anything. I'm a big fan of Ghost Rider, but it was just the first Ghost Rider movie. I was like, I mean, Nicolas Cage, yeah, he make good Johnny Blaze because he's that crazy.
That was a night. He does make a good Johnny Blaze. I'll give him that.
I was young enough to not hate that movie.
I remember.
So bad.
You know what it is?
So
I'm sorry. I got a better one for that. He-Man Masters of the Universe when Skeletor goes gold. That's it.
Oh my God.
When Skeletor goes full gold. That's where they got it from.
That was so. You know what? I seen I think it was a behind the scenes, or it was a doc about that movie, and the final scene where He-Man and Skeletor are fighting, and it's they look like it's dark inside in the gymnasium. It's dark for a reason. It's because they lost their budget. So that's what they lost their budget. So they were fighting pretty much in darkness. Oh my God! And this was
oh man!
Yep. It was 1994. Plastic surgery hadn't came along yet.
Oh my God.
Actually, I take that back. Every time I see that, I'm reminded of the Ferengi.
He looked like he got clobbered. Like clobbering time.
He did.
He like he got clobbered.
Let me put it back up. That's depressing.
No, you know what's even worse? He looked like Killer Croc from the first Suicide Squad movie.
Oh my God. He does. Oh God.
I
It's probably the same name.
Now. Oh, I can't unsee it now.
Oh my God, that is so bad. Oh, I gotta do it. I gotta do a show on that one now. I gotta do it.
Oh man. Those prosthetics did no justice.
The worst superhero movie ever made to date.
The worst.
And those have got to go.
There's a tie for that. There's a tie for that type.
Yeah.
Like worst movie ever? Worst superhero movie ever made? Ooh.
Mystery Men?
I would say about 5. if I was gonna do a top 10 list, Mystery Man be about 5. There's still other movies that are worse than Mystery Man.
I want to fuck around and play that. Like they had it on Netflix for a second. And I was just like, it's been a minute since I seen this. So I pressed play on it and then I cut it off at like 5 minutes in and was like, yeah.
I can't believe I did this.
Yeah, I can't purposely do this to myself because at first the first time you see Mystery Man is like, well, I don't know what I'm getting into.
Right.
You can't purposely press play on Mystery Man. Like you just
don't. You gotta wake up on a Sunday afternoon and realize
it's just on. It's just on.
Yeah. I like Ben Stiller. Like, how much do you like Ben Stiller?
I would rather. I will watch Dodgeball before I watch Mystery Man, and I like Dodgeball.
Like, look at this.
It looks like
sometimes comic accuracy
goes wrong.
Sometimes comic accuracy isn't enough.
That looks like a burnt cookie.
Thank God.
That's just a burnt cookie. That is a burnt oatmeal cookie.
Yeah,
no, you know the popcorn get burnt when you leave it in the microwave too long. It's like at the bottom of the kernel.
Like,
that's dry.
That's dry. It's stuck to the bag.
You making a face because it smelled and then took over the whole house. You just mad and shit. That's
but the setup they had back then, I was like, that was some Stepford Wives stuff when I first saw it. I'm like, this is not it. What works in comics does not work in real life. I'm just from a comic standpoint.
Perfect example. Watch Wanda. If you haven't watched WandaVision, in the episode where they doing like the Halloween going trick or treating, and you see Wanda
she
in
dresses
her,
like traditional.
She dresses like her comic book counterpart, and so does Vision, and you're just like, I am so glad they didn't go that route. I am so glad they didn't go that route. You're just like, oh, so smart. Wardrobe and makeup. Thank you.
I was surprised about Disney kind of pushing the envelope. I said, you had Wanda just coming out, and I'm like, okay, so we just said screw the top part. We just said bump the top part. That's what the money is. All right. Now I'll tell you what.
Just rolled with
the one that actually makes fun of themselves. You guys remember Netflix and Luke Cage when he comes back from
he has the
headband.
Yeah. That was
hilarious. What did he say? I look like a damn fool.
I look like a damn fool.
I sat there. I'm like, yeah, you're better off not going with the jeans.
Right.
First and foremost, though, can we talk about like I couldn't stand Mike Coulter as Luke Cage?
What?
I'm listening.
So listen. Explain.
I'm listening to this.
You know, man. So explain.
Right. How he never made it believable that he was like he was New York, he was Harlem. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like how is Cottonmouth way more entertaining than you in the city that you supposed to be protecting? And then
fair point.
And then he was so bad at giving us that they had to make his backstory be a preacher from Georgia. Like he's a preacher's son from Georgia.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He had to be Southern because he not New York, but yet I gotta do this for I do this for for Harlem. Like, shut up, nigga. Like I couldn't.
I get you.
You say it was forced.
Yeah, it really bothered me. It's like we could have gone so many different routes. Now look, he was dope. And look, but outside of look, and then let's not mention the dab that happened.
Oh Lord. Well, I almost forgotten about it, but all right.
I break my son does that. My son did that when he cosplayed Luke Cage one time. I was like, please don't do that when we go down to the con.
Don't you ever do that again.
My face involuntarily just did this just because I remembered it all.
But I'll be honest with you. I mean, Luke Coulter, he did his best. There was other people at the time. Like, I kind of wanted him to go a different route with Luke Cage. Let's be honest, you're never gonna find a bodybuilder like this. This is the problem when it comes to
that can act that well for it.
Right.
At least we know of.
I'm like, if anybody was gonna do it, I was telling somebody else that if I had my dream casting, I said, I wish I could take an acting ability and just put it in CT Fletcher's body and have him do it. Because because in my mind, he has the gravitas for it.
He
has
definitely
the cadence for it. And at the same time, you look at him, I'm like,
because that line of his, he was like, you don't eat it for the taste, motherfucker. You eat it for the results.
I can see that.
I love that.
That would have been perfect if he could act. But I was like, but I'm not mad at Mike Coulter. It's like, hey, you take it out.
My dream casting for that role was actually Michael J. White.
Oh
yeah,
he was
that part.
Yeah, and he could pull off the I'm from Harlem. Yeah. Like they wouldn't have had to switched his backstory up. And that. He could have been I could have believed if I went to Harlem, I'd have saw this nigga like, yep.
Yeah.
Although, like I said, that Spawn reboot needs to hurry up. That's all I'm asking for.
They've been
like,
passing
that Spawn reboot. I'm like, this is running on borrowed time at this moment.
Right. I'm like, what are y'all gonna do? How are y'all doing it? We're doing an animation. Okay, well, y'all need to hurry up.
Right.
Because
I would say Spawn was probably one of the most underrated superhero movies out there.
Right.
Because I love Michael Jai White. I love John Leguizamo as a Violator.
Vindicator. Violator.
Violator.
I love him as Violator. But I still say even Martin Sheen was the most 80s-ish bad guy that you can find. Still played his role.
With the goatee and everything. It was
yeah. I mean, he still played he played an 80s bad guy, but I still loved it.
I'm like, it was certain things that I'm like, keep Michael Jai White, keep John Leguizamo, change a little bit of everything else,
I mean, it's like I'm telling you, like what we got in the sense of technology and film movie magic, Spawn deserve a live action reboot ASAP.
It does.
He does.
It does because some of them shots that they had with the cape
exactly
were great shots. Especially when they did the shot with him standing on the chapel roof.
That was beautiful. That was great.
I'm like, beautiful. It looks good. Like you had it. I know what it was. It was your budget.
Mm-hmm. Right. But that's why I'm saying it's funny part where it's like, the movies that we loved back then were considered the adult stories that we know right now. Right. That's why I'm kind of hoping what happened with Batman is like this opens the door because we know a Deadpool R-rated movie's coming, but let's be honest, it's Deadpool. It's been established in Marvel what Deadpool is from the last two movies. But I mean, you can tell darker adult comic book stories. You can. Like I'm still waiting for. I'll even go forward to say, even though Punisher has had 3 shots, Punisher has had a couple shots.
Yeah,
I still say Thomas Jane was bad. Ray Stevenson. I was like,
he did Warzone.
Yeah, Punisher
Warzone was too comic book accurate.
Yeah,
it was.
Like
especially when he shoots.
Yeah,
when he shoots the parkours with the missile, and I'm like,
yeah,
come on, Frank, that's overkill.
Or the way that he like bashed old boy face against all the glass and shit, and all that.
Turns into Jigsaw,
yeah. And I was like,
that dude, Jigsaw, dude that played Jigsaw. I'm just like, dude, it was like you're too goofy. You're like too goofy of a mafioso kind of guy.
Trying to play Two-Face had a kid.
Yep.
Yeah. It is. I was just like,
how'd y'all feel about the guy that played him in the Netflix series?
Very well done.
Yeah, awesome. No, I'm talking about
no, the guy who played Jigsaw. The guy who played Jigsaw. That was very well done.
Yeah.
He was well. That was a better portrayal because he was more calculated and cold versus funny. And that made it.
And that's what we wanted.
Like,
that's what we were.
The whole thing. He was so obsessed with Frank. I was like, that was perfect. That was Jigsaw in a nutshell for the Punisher. He was one of the most dangerous villains, even to the point to where Frank was like empty. Well, in the comics, he emptied a full M16 clip in his face, but still. When you have to make sure somebody's dead.
That's a surefire way to do it,
right? But
I love to make sure he ain't coming back.
Right.
They did. They
But
did
yeah,
a fantastic job with the Punisher Netflix series. They really did. I'm glad that, I had actually called it when they said it. They were like, "Oh, they're leaving Netflix," and I'm like, "They'll be back, but they're just coming back a lot sooner than I thought." I knew they were. They're going to Disney, but they're probably going to be on Hulu because of the mature theme. That was the part I didn't see coming when Disney said, "Oh no, they're coming over to Disney Plus," and I'm like, "Oh."
Yeah, Disney was
Yeah.
Because that also gives me hope that Moon Knight can be a little darker than it. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, they've already shown.
They've already
shown.
Kevin Feige has already sat there and said that we're gonna go. Moon Knight is gonna go exactly the way you think it is. I was like, cool, because there is no other direction it can go.
Yeah, you can't PG this one. I'm sorry.
You can't PG Moon Knight. No.
Heck, they was just like they were saying, like when they were talking about Blade, they were saying, well, Blade's gonna be PG-13. And I'm like, well, they can push the envelope now. Because even though the Wesley Snipes Blades were R because of the blood and gore, you know how far the standards are different now. They can literally push that envelope and be like PG-13, slap that on there.
Yeah.
Deadpool would be a rated R. It's not so much the gore, it's the lewdness.
Yeah.
That's what makes it the rated R. It's the lewdness. I'm like, Blade isn't lewd. He was like, he's killing vampires. They'll probably tone down on the blood part unless necessary. And because you're like, he's killing vampires. They turn to ash. Hell, Buffy did that.
Yeah, and somehow made it work for 6 seasons.
Yeah.
Somehow made it work for 6 seasons. But no, I mean, she can do it. Right. I mean, but that's why I was saying. But that's why I was saying the whole idea of adult storytelling. That's why I had this one argument. One guy said, look, it comes down to money. He says, right now, kids bring in the money. I said, well, those kids eventually become teenagers who become adults. So the money is going to shift. Now, Disney's going to make its money regardless. I mean, they got too many avenues and have bought so much stuff that they might as well be holding an infinity gauntlet waiting on DC. I mean, let's be honest. DC is the last gem in that hand that Disney owns right now, and the powers that be are trying to keep DC away from Disney because if Disney ever bought DC, everything is owned by the mouse. Yeah,
DC and Sony.
Yeah,
and Disney's looking at Sony like,
yep.
That's all you got to do. Now, don't you mess this up for me.
That's what I said about That's what I said about X. That's what I said when Disney approached Fox about X-Men. How much for X-Men? It's not for sale. Okay. How much is Fox?
that's all.
Eliminate the middleman.
Disney was just like, buy the company.
Pretty much.
Right.
Buy the company. We got this.
That's somebody actually. I gotta find the artist that did this because they sat there and said, "This is Disney after acquired by Fox." It literally showed Mickey Mouse with the Infinity Gauntlet walking toward the animation style, and it had the jewels across it saying, "What did it say? Marvel, ESPN, two other things," and then it had
Star Wars,
and then it had Fox, and it had Fox on the other side, and you hear just Mickey and just Thanos' voice. I'll do it myself. I was like, that's messed up.
And they could. They literally just say, and they proved it. They pretty like, oh, you want to play the big boy game,
right?
But the only thing I ask from Disney, if you're gonna move forward with the Netflix originals, please retool Iron Fist, please.
I believe they will. I believe they will because we've known
they're either gonna fine tune them or stay away from them completely.
Yeah, I think what they'll do
it's gonna go 1 or 2 ways.
Yeah, they'll probably sit him down and say, "Look, how badly do you want to do this role?"
Because I would go find Donnie Yen, Sammo Hung, and Jet Li. And
I would find somebody
train this motherfucker for 2 years,
right?
7 days out the week.
If they want to get the stink off of it completely, I'd do something wild like make them Asian. And I know Danny Rand's story is about that whole fish out of water thing, but You could also push the fish out of water thing with an Americanized, Asian American person not knowing nothing about culture.
You know, the funny thing is, the funny thing as you mentioned that's currently the comic book line right now.
Really?
Yeah.
Where there's a new Iron Fist,
they introduced a new face,
and he's Asian, and he doesn't know how he got powers. His backstory is basically
Disney, you sons of bitches. I think I see what you're doing now.
Right. They're setting up like he's one of the divine owner weapons that got shattered.
Okay.
But the way it makes it sound like Danny Rand runs into him. So it's like, wait a minute, there he is, a new Iron Fist. And I'm like, he's Asian. And I'm like, yeah, this is going to work. But like Chris said, this is Disney. Disney right now is pretty much doing like Denzel Washington on the training day. This is chess, not checkers. I can see Disney going out there. I'm setting this up for a reason.
Right.
I can see them doing this. That's their roundup. I can see them pulling this off, and I'm all for it. I think the best thing they did when it was on Netflix, their standout episodes dealing with Luke and Danny was when they teamed up. Yeah, those were the standout moments. Like when they go into the warehouse and they do patty cake, I'm like, I've been waiting for you two bastards
just to have the power. Just have the Power Bros.
I've been waiting on that, and then all of that. What do we take from all of that in the Iron Fist story? No, we need to see Daughters of the Dragon. I want to see more Misty and Colleen. No,
and that would be cool.
Damn you, Danny.
Right.
Well, the crazy part is, right? Why did pre-Daredevil look like Iron Fist? He had the. I was like,
see, they went Frank Miller. They went Frank Miller because he had that look, and I'm just like,
I was like, if you don't make Iron Fist look like Iron Fist right now, because him walking around this curly hair and all this other shit was pissing me off. And then you go look at Daredevil whooping everybody ass looking just like Iron Fist.
I laughed.
For 2 seasons straight, he looked just like Iron Fist.
And was whooping more ass. And it was just like, and he was walking out tired.
Oh man!
Never once did he have to announce that he was the immortal Iron Fist. Because
I hate that part.
Who are you? I'm the immortal Iron Fist. I'm like, dude, number one, you took the role from somebody else.
Right. That was the whole thing.
He said that shit like 92 times an episode. I was like, look here, bro. We know. We get it.
I just want to
talk about gentrification.
I just want somebody from the hand of the hallway scene to go, before he says something, we know who he is.
Right.
You don't got to announce it.
And then he'd be like, but I'm the immortal Iron Fist.
Yeah. And then I think the scene where in the Defenders, when they're going into the high rise, when they're going into the building, that was a great scene.
Yeah.
I said, but look what it took for you to actually look good.
Yeah. Right. You had to bring more people in. You had to bring the other characters in to make you shine.
Jessica looked better than you did, my man.
Right.
And somehow Daredevil still whooped the most ass.
That was still funny.
Give me a star.
Why? I was kind of mad about Daredevil because when he sat there and took off and go up the stairs and he was sitting there wrapping the scarf around his head and he gets the same floor as the elevator comes up and you see Jessica Jones just go, you could have just took the elevator with me. I mean,
right.
And the amount of time you spent doing parkour and going up these steps, you could have met me. You could have been legs fresh.
You all tired of shit.
Like we've seen you box in the hallway, my dude. We know how you feel. You're trying to get there fast, I guess. Whatever.
I just thought about that because I wish that was so part of the dialogue in the episode. Like you could just roll the elevator.
Right.
I'm like, your sonar didn't give you that kind of common sense. You decided just to take off
like
steps.
The elevator is coming right down. There's no stops. You can
right. You didn't
ride it up with me.
Right.
I hope they actually do. I really do. Like I said, Iron Fist is one of my favorites, but you're crazy. You're right. They could go that route and retool them. I still say, because I was sitting there making fun of the first season. I'm like, what David Deaton Karate Studio class did y'all send this fool to? Like, me and a buddy of mine, when we used to practice martial arts, and we're just sitting there looking at this, we're like, what kind of half-step kata is this mess?
And you know what?
Yeah, it's like they could have did much better.
I have read so many articles about what was going on with Iron Fist, and then it finally hit that, like, my dude didn't have enough training. I'm like, how do you not have enough training? Like,
For a martial arts show.
Right. I'm like, Keanu Reeves trained for almost 2 years before he took the role. Well, when he found out he was playing Neo, it was 2 years, almost 2 whole years of martial arts training, weapons of all type. 2 years.
Also, Man of Tai Chi was pretty good too when he was in that movie. That was he was phenomenal in Man of Tai Chi.
So it was just like, dude, if Keanu Reeves, who people love, can do it, damn it, you can do it for the show. Come on.
And you backed up by Disney money. That's the part I don't get. That's like I kept on saying, was Donnie Yen not available? Samuel Hunt? I'm like,
anybody? In Michelle Yeoh? Anybody?
I'm like Jackie Chan was not available.
I was ready. I was
anything. You don't learn on the fly. You might go over, and they were saying stuff like he would learn the moves. They would, and it was a scheduling thing and a whole bunch of other stuff was going on. But then they would say he would come on, and then they would practice like the fight set. I get you're gonna do that to kind of, it's like warm up when you're on the set. Yeah, I get that, but it was like I've seen Chadwick Boseman training literally. The fact that the man learned another language on the spot, like, I'm looking like, dude, come on.
That's the part that killed me, because I'm like, if you sit there and told me, it's like, okay, so we're going to train you for the next 2 years. Here's your teacher. Here's your teacher, Jackie Chan. Cool. Where do I put my sleeping bag?
Right.
I'm going home.
Can we start right now?
Where do I sleep? Where do I sleep here? Because my thing is, if you're going to train with somebody who's going to teach you martial arts, like you said, be fully dedicated to it, especially for legends. Imagine getting trained by Jet Li, and I use Jet Li because between him and Donnie Yen, they're about as close to learning different styles of martial arts out there up to Bruce Lee. Because if you've ever seen Fist of Legend, you've ever seen The One, you've ever seen I call The One is almost up to Bruce Lee's Game of Death, just because they are completely different martial arts styles in those movies. But to get to train with those guys, at that point, what's life? Just
right. Like, what are you doing with your life?
I'm straight. I am straight in the humble pose. Like, please accept me as your student. Just straight up. Like, please accept me as your student.
I never once believed Finn Jones was fucking Iron Fist. Never once.
You just had the look. Had the look.
Yeah,
and that was it.
It wasn't believable. It wasn't. That's why I'm kind of seeing what they're gonna do with this.
By the time this second season was over, and I was remembering, I can't remember which Avengers book it was, but I remember Luke and Danny were talking, and they were seeing Shang-Chi, and he said, Danny was like, "Who's that?" He was like, Luke was like, "That's Shang-Chi. He's the master of Kung Fu." He's like, "No, I'm the master of Kung Fu." He's like, "No, Danny, I'm your boy, and I'm telling you."
You don't.
I'm your boy. You don't want this.
That'd be that one time. One time.
He was like, "I'm telling you, you don't want them hands, Danny."
That's that boy that'll sit there and walk up and just be like, "Do you want to fight me? Do you want to catch these hands?" The boys on your side, just like,
"You don't want to do that.
You don't want to do this, man. I don't want to embarrass you in front of your boy. It's not going to be a good look for you." But no, it's like
it was the funniest panel because he was like, he's like, "Yeah, but I'm the Iron Fist." He's like, "And he's the master of Kung Fu."
Mm-hmm.
cap.
Leave it alone.
Leave it alone. It's literally a leave it alone moment. It's not what you want. But that's why I'm kind of hoping they kind of get to that. Like I would love to see more. I would love to see more Luke Cage and Iron Fist together and just have that camaraderie. And I would also like to see Darth the Dragon, which I think they're going to do anyway because it's for us.
They had such a great dynamic.
Yeah,
the way they were building that up, it was such a great dynamic, and I'm like,
I don't know, man. Like Misty Knight was my favorite thing about any of that.
I think Misty Knight was the favorite thing about a lot of because when we see Misty, I'm like, oh, Misty.
I was like, who Misty Knight over here? You know what I'm saying?
You ain't lying. You ain't lying. One
gave coffee a whole different meaning. I'm just like, I've often gone on record and said it. I'm like, this is unlawful. Mm-hmm. That the precinct that Misty Knight worked in had that many fine women. Mm-hmm. I'm like, we talking about Harlem, right?
Right.
I might have
the little boy, the lawyer that was in the barbershop, and Misty working at the precinct, her captain, and then the replacement. I'm like, where y'all finding all these?
Like you're playing Brown Sugar on repeat. You're playing Brown Sugar on repeat.
I'm like, I'm gonna be like Luke too. I'm drinking coffee. What you having? Coffee all day, coffee. Oh man, but let me get out of here. We're gonna get out of here. Will, tell everybody where they can find you at.
Oh, well, you can actually find me at the link that you're seeing there. That actually goes to my link tree that has all of my podcasts there that you can find me. Of course, my Get Bit podcast is every Friday on Facebook Live. We'll schedule to have both of you on there because I do want to continue this along with my other partner, who is very more his library of common knowledge dwarfs mine. So I would definitely gonna schedule to have you guys on there very soon. But yeah, that's where you can catch me. Of course, BlackBox447 on IG, where you can find me there as well. As I did post about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, that collection coming out, and I will gladly pay $60 for it because I can't wait.
This is the life we chose. We choose violence always.
Right.
Oh man,
Crazy 8, man. Tell everybody where they can find you.
Yo, it's your boy Crazy 8, the Great Cleveland's own comic book superhero. You can find me on all social media platforms at Crazy, the number 8, THE, Great. It's only one of me. You can't get another. Of course, hit my links. Hit the link in the bio. It'll take you to the link tree. You'll get everything you need to know, from music to music videos to upcoming shows to all the shenanigans I'm a part of. Yeah.
Oh man. You can catch me here, Linktree at the bottom of the screen. Blurred's Eye View, all one word on IG. Chris.Fury1 also on IG, the personal page. Check us out. Chris Fury1 on TikTok. And I plan on doing some more cartoon theme songs that live rip free in your head. I left off with issue 17. And that seems to be going over well with a lot of people. So I'm going to be continuing that series for a little while because there are a shit ton of cartoons that really do live rent-free in a lot of people's head. But tune in every Tuesday and every Thursday as we talk to blurs, nerds, geeks, dweebs, and weaves about the things that only we like to talk about and that we know how to talk about. But I want to thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Our two guests here, Crazy 8 the Great and Will from Get Bit Podcast. And check us out, like I said before. And we are always providing a safe space for blurs all over the world and showcasing their talents and skills and talking about the topics that only we can. And next Tuesday and Thursday, when we talk to other geeks and other Blurred members, remember to entertain yourself and others, educate yourself and others, and most of all, encourage yourself and others. And on that note, we are out.
I'm big.